Well, good morning and welcome to the show. Jeff Beals here at your service. Show's brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. This is the only show in the metro area that talks about the growth and development of your favorite city and environs. And the guy that helps me do that every week is my co-host and good friend, the legendary real estate deal maker himself, Trenton Magid.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Jeffrey.
Well, good morning to you.
Beautiful day.
It is. You know, we've got a restaurant review this week. Every other week we do. It's part of our Cheer Athletics Grow Omaha Eats series of restaurant reviews. And those are written by Sarah Baker Hansen. And this week, Sarah reviewed Omaha Bagel Company. We'd give you an address for it, but we can't because this is kind of a unique deal.
Yeah.
This is a cottage bagel bakery. It accepts orders via text or when it happens to be exhibiting at farmers markets. You get to it through Instagram or the Facebook page. You can get all sorts of details about how you order it if you go to the actual review on the Eats, EATS page of growomaha.com.
Yeah, it sounds good. It was a great review, and just a new entry to the bagel market.
Yeah, I want to give it a try, and it sounds like it's pretty spectacular. So check that out. You can see that review and all of Sarah's previous Grow Omaha Eats reviews on the growomaha.com website. And while you're there, you can sign up for the newsletter because those reviews are in the newsletter every other week. We don't do them every week. We do them every other week. And the Grow Omaha Eats restaurant reviews are brought to you by Cheer Athletics. That is a company that is in about 12 different metro areas across the United States, including Omaha. And it is a youth sports, youth competition, youth development type business. The Omaha location is located near Highways 50 and 370 in Papillion. And they just do an outstanding job. It's kind of like the Cadillac, the Mercedes, the BMW, the Lexus, the every good car of All-Star Cheer.
And this is the Bentley.
And the Bentley. You like Bentleys, don't you?
Heard of them.
Okay, so, hey, speaking of restaurants, there was one other thing we've got to do. I've got to issue a correction because last week during the lightning round, I gave some erroneous information about Cafe Diem. And Cafe Diem is a locally owned breakfast and lunch spot at 9839 South 96th Street. So kind of like right there in 96, if you go east, I think it's Cornhusker Road, and then west of there is Portal Road. At any rate, I got some bad information and said they were closing or did close or something like that. Folks, that is not true. Heard it from the owner. He was totally cool about it. He just said, hey, I don't, and I was a little bit.
I got blamed for it too.
Oh, that was the best part of it. Trenton was the first who got blamed, and I was the one who said it.
Customers were coming in saying, hey, that Grow Omaha show with Trenton Magid.
Yeah, people were like, anyway, the owner was totally cool about it. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go by and try it. So yesterday morning, got there shortly after 7 when they opened and had breakfast there. And it was really good. It was really good. It had, like all the meats are really high quality and everything else. Talked to the owner, Steve Jackson. So anyway.
Is there more than one location?
I don't think so. I think that's the only one. And, it's very, very low price too and all that sort of thing. So sometimes I can screw up and something good happens out of it. I got to go have breakfast at a new place.
Steve's getting a lot of good press now.
He deserves it after because
your follow-up.
After my follow-up and the fact that he runs a good restaurant. So let's go into our news of the week, which is brought to you by Eagle Mortgage. EagleMortgageCompany.com is where you find them online, or you can swing by the office, stop in 114th and Davenport in West Central Omaha. But they, as the name would indicate, would help you with a home loan, a mortgage. And as a mortgage broker, they're not beholden or tied into one bank. Like, that's what happens if you go get a loan at a bank. At Eagle Mortgage, they can shop it around, figure out what's best for you because they get to know you, and they have a lot of different options. EagleMortgageCompany.com. All right, well, the first item is involving transportation, Trenton. Earlier this week, the Omaha Streetcar Authority voted unanimously to approve let's call it a letter of intent to share information and coordinate with the city of Council Bluffs. Why do this? Well, the reason is there's a good possibility that this future streetcar might someday extend into Council Bluffs and perhaps all the way to downtown.
How cool would that be?
I think it'd be really cool. If you look at the streetcar system that we are building in Omaha, which is scheduled to open in 2026, it will, let's say, start at CHI Health Center Omaha, go down the 8th and 10th Street corridors, and then go east-west on the Farnham and Harney corridors to the University of Nebraska Medical Center. And it is expected, like the one in Kansas City, to create billions of dollars
for the riders too.
Collateral real estate development. And so Council Bluffs is saying, hey, we've been looking at how we can develop this First Avenue corridor. So if you're not familiar with that part of Council Bluffs, First Avenue runs parallel to Broadway from downtown out towards western Council Bluffs towards Omaha. It was a railroad track at one time. And now the thought is to run the streetcar down that, because that will strengthen the Broadway corridor to the north, but create its own corridor. So you would have this spine of development and activity right through the heart of Council Bluffs.
Just so we give good information, Council Bluffs citizens would be able to come to Omaha as well as us going over there, right?
No, right. It would not be a one-way streetcar, Trenton.
Okay.
I think you might be the only person who was thinking that might be a possibility.
And no idea is necessary for the people to get back to Nebraska.
So about 19,000 Council Bluffs residents currently travel to Omaha for work each day, according to the City of Council Bluffs website. And also, this is interesting, roughly 60% of Council Bluffs residents live within 1 mile of that First Avenue corridor.
Oh, wow.
So
60%?
Yeah. So if you look at the density right on that corridor, not so dense right now. But if you look at what it could be, given the fact that more than half of the residents of the city live within 1 mile of it, it could densify pretty fast.
So how does it get over the Missouri? Obviously, there's going to be a new bridge, or
we'd have to build a new bridge, and that would not be a small endeavor. We're probably talking about up to $100 million. That bridge would likely be immediately south of the Interstate 480 bridge. And there's talk that if you're going to build that bridge for a streetcar, you might as well have pedestrian and bicycle access on it as well. And so some people are saying, hey, that would create a couple mile loop with the Bob Carey Bridge, so it'd be good for recreation and exercise and what have you. The other thing is, if this happens, the vision, and again, this is all very, very early, folks, the vision would be that Dodge Park on the east bank of the Missouri River, directly across from downtown Omaha, would be sold and turned into a dense, pedestrian-oriented, mixed-use development, kind of like a western downtown of Council Bluffs. And so then the thought is, then all of a sudden you have this amazing urban core, and it's probably going to take 20 years or more to develop the way you want it to, but
there's got to be thinking.
The potential's there. So I think this is some pretty exciting stuff that is definitely worth looking into. And by the way, I know we hear periodically from a lot of people, primarily suburbanites, that are saying, hey, this streetcar thing's a waste of time. Or my favorite one is, I'll never use it, and all this sort of stuff. But if you look at what these things do, if they're done right, in the right way, they become a tremendous boon to the city. You continue to develop a tax base in the city. You redevelop underutilized properties. You put buildings on surface parking lots, which generates tax revenue. It creates a lot of economic activity. And it's a good way of using infrastructure. It ends up saving taxpayers probably a lot of money over the course of 20 years.
And 25 years ago, that's what some people said from West Omaha and other places about the CenturyLink. The convention center arena, not everybody's going to use it, and it's a waste of money.
It's going to be a white elephant. That was my favorite one.
Thing called the Civic Auditorium.
Yeah.
And the music hall.
Why do we need the CHI when we've got a beautiful civic auditorium, which was falling apart? So, yeah, it was the same mentality. And then you look at the CHI Health Center, what it has sparked downtown, adjacent real estate development, economic activity. You think about the money that is spent on food and drink, including a lot of people from out of town, because the CHI Health Center is there. I see the streetcar line to be very analogous to that because of the activity it'll create. And I think sometimes people make the mistake of zeroing in exactly on whether the streetcar itself will be profitable or not. Probably by itself, probably not so much, since it's going to operate for free. I think what you have to look at is what it causes. It's like any other investment. You have to look at what it causes and what it makes helpful. as if you were investing something into a business. Well, enough of that, because we got a couple other news items we want to get to today. These will be a little bit quicker than that one. But Heartwood Preserve, which is the 500-acre mixed-use development southwest of 144th and West Dodge Road. Beautiful-looking development so far, with a lot more to come. Construction on the two buildings that will serve as the relocated homes of Charleston's Restaurant and Mahogany Prime Steakhouse. Both are having the steel up, and the first one, Charleston's, is starting to be enclosed now. To the west of that building, of those two restaurant buildings, Gunderson's Jewelers is starting to enclose its future flagship store. We've talked about this in the past, but Capital Cigar Lounge out of Lincoln plans to build a two-story building directly north of that. And then I saw some foundation work this week in front of the Charleston's and Mahogany Prime Steakhouse buildings, where Starbucks will have a freestanding building. And then to the north of that, there's going to be a retail strip, which the only tenant we know of, I believe, in the retail strip is
Little King.
Little King, the sub sandwich place. Okay. There will be a couple others in there as well, but I don't think we know what those
just
are.
one Little King.
One Little King and an entire strip center. The Douglas County Board postponed a vote planned this week to approve construction on two mental health facilities near the Douglas County Jail, southwest of 16th and Jackson Street downtown. Two facilities combined would be 72,500 square feet, cost $60 million, and cost is part of the delay. I think some county
TJ
board
Morgan
members want some more time.
Yeah, and given there's been a lot of expenses coming out. A lot of money came from the federal government, and a lot of that money's been spent. So let's do it right.
Yeah, it's amazing. They talk about the ARPA funding or whatever that's coming, and the people have a lot of ideas, a lot more ideas than there is funding. Yeah. Well, finally, Nebraska's unemployment rate dropped slightly to 2.1% and is now tied with North Dakota for second lowest unemployment rate by a state anywhere in the nation. And here's some other good news. I guess it's good news. In some ways, maybe it's concerning news because it means we don't have a lot of employment capacity to grow. Nebraska's labor force participation rate of 69.5%, highest in the country.
Excellent.
Let me just say that a labor force participation rate of only 69.5% being number one in the country, in some ways to me, seems pathetic.
If we're the highest, but the question is
some people need to get to work.
Why aren't those people working? Right?
Yeah. We got some slackers that need to go back to work.
Do they allow people to retire? If somebody's 70 years old, are they considered that they should be working?
Good question. I don't know. 69.5%. I think there's people out there that can get to work. But that's just me, and that is your news of the week with a little bit of commentary brought to you by Eagle Mortgage, eaglemortgagecompany.com. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to bring on Rod Yates. He is the owner of Nebraska Crossing. We're going to talk about LB 727. There are a lot of economic incentive aspects to that bill, but one of them would be to create a major retail tourism development, like one that could be built by Nebraska Crossing and other things as well. So that's going to be a fascinating conversation. Stick with us. You're listening to Jeff Beals and Trenton Magid on Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. Back in a moment on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beals and Trenton Magid at your service. We're brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. D&M Roofing and Siding, premier roofing contractor in eastern Nebraska, western Iowa. And the team over there, led by Eric Oberamt, does an outstanding job on commercial and residential roofs. And we highly recommend them. We've used them personally and give them our top and highest endorsement. Well, it's been an interesting year in the Nebraska legislature and the unicameral. Things have been moving a little bit slowly, but there's a very important bill that matters a great deal to people who enjoy Grow Omaha. It's called LB 727. It's a package of more than 20 bills aimed at increasing economic activity. They're all put together. And one important part of that is a component that could help Nebraska create retail tourism destinations. One of those would likely be at Nebraska Crossing or in the nearby area. And we have with us the owner and developer of Nebraska Crossing, Rod Yates. Good morning, Rod. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Jeff and Trenton. Great to be back on with you guys. And Johanna's here with us as well, and we look forward to catching up with you.
That would be Johanna Boston. How are you, Johanna?
Good. How are you doing?
Good to hear your voice. Well, Rod and Johanna, let's just kind of jump into this. I mean, there are a lot of different parts of the bill that aren't involving you guys as specifically. So let's talk quite a bit about this whole idea of retail tourism and what this bill could do to make major attractions like one that you guys envision at Nebraska Crossing become possible.
Yeah, I mean, this bill reminds me of Kansas back in about 1998 when we were working with Mayor Maridovich in Kansas City, Kansas, about creating a bill that we could use for attractions and bringing newer retail into the community. And as part of that process, it was really important to us when we were doing the Star Bonds in Kansas to make it inclusive. And so it could be used by any developer, any community across the state of Nebraska. And that's what was really important to us, is to make sure that this bill can be used from Omaha all the way across to Sydney, and any community would make it available. So our thought is we want to take what we learned down in Kansas with the Star Bonds, bring a bill like that up here into Nebraska, and really allow us to create a lot of destination, new-to-market retail, different industries that would complement tourism. And we've got a great track record of doing that down in Kansas. I think we can apply that to here in Nebraska and create something really unique.
Give us an idea of how it works. It's called the Good Life Bill, is it?
Yes.
And then what are the size of these projects and the time frame of what has to happen?
Yeah, you go through an application process with the Department of Economic Development, state of Nebraska, and typically they have different sizes based on the size of your community, if you're a primary or Tier 1 city, Tier 2, et cetera. And so typically they're going to be large scale because as part of the bill, you have to attract a lot of out-of-state tourism to make it really unique for the state of Nebraska. And so typically you'll see that you have to draw 20% of the customers into the development have to be from out of state, so we're getting a lot of tourism into the community. So they got to be large scale, and they've got to really attract a lot of tourism to really make them effective in what the state wants to see from an economic development standpoint.
And this just isn't a retail development. This would be mixed use, maybe sports, office, retail, entertainment, recreation.
Yeah, our vision of what we want to do in our perspective in Gretna at Nebraska Crossing is, if you've ever been up to the Nike campus where their world headquarters are up in the Portland community, where they took 300 acres, they put 75 buildings on it, they did a dedication to the athlete, Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, et cetera. And so our view is we want to kind of replicate what they did at the Nike campus, but bring a complete mixed-use experience where we got a lot of sports involved. We've got office, we've got residential, we've got running tracks. We got everything that really makes this an attractive campus and, again, brings a lot of different uses into it. So we'll look at residential, retail, office. Everything will be part of kind of our vision of recreating the Nike corporate headquarters here in Gretna, Nebraska.
So the bill was sponsored by Senator Lou Ann Linehan of Elkhorn and called the Good Life Transformational Projects Act. Ron, Johanna, if, as proposed, half of the state's 5.5% sales tax generated by the expansion would go to the retail development to help finance these expansions for these big tourism drawing attractions. How would that work, and what are the benefits of doing that way? And I guess the third part of that question is that similar to how the system worked in Kansas, Rod, when you were working on the Legends project?
Yeah, in Legends, what we did down in Legends, so Nebraska is different than Star Bonds. In the state of Kansas at Legends, they gave us 100% of the sales tax for 30 years. So what we wanted to do in Nebraska, we wanted to do the ultimate public-private partnership at the state level and do a 50% sales tax from the state, and then we use the other 50% in the overall development that we're going to put together here in Nebraska Crossing. So a little bit different than Star Bonds in Kansas. They gave us 100% of it for 30 years. I think they actually have had so much success down in Kansas, they renewed it again for another 30 years. But ours is more of a shared kind of relationship at the state level, and that's what I really like about it. So what what we had asked for is 50% of the state sales tax as part of our package, so everybody wins. We take a lot of vacant land today, we make it very economic, developed out into a lot of new sales tax for the state, so everybody wins, and it'll be very unique and powerful economically for the state as well as our development.
So, as a Tier 1 city in Gretna, you'd have to build $500 million worth of new construction. Is that over 10 years, or you have to have 75% of that done in 10 years?
Yeah, that's how it's kind of contemplated in the bill. I think as I look at the opportunity we have, I think we're going to be over $2 billion in development costs, because as I've kind of traveled the country looking at different kinds of uses and unique kind of destination venues that we want to be part of this, I think we'll easily be over $2 billion in Gretna.
We're talking with Rod Yates and Johanna Boston from Nebraska Crossing. And Rod, when you testified before the legislature earlier, and along with Gretna Mayor Mike Evans, you mentioned $1.6 billion a year of retail leakage to other states. And I would imagine a lot of that would be Nebraskans going to places where they can access retailers that we're not currently big enough to have or haven't done what it takes to get them. What could this project do to alleviate that leakage, and what types of retailers who currently wouldn't come here might start considering this area if this project happens?
Yeah, the big example is people, we hear a lot. Obviously, Johanna and I are on campus every day at Nebraska Crossing, and we hear all the time kind of the brands that people want to see in Nebraska and then where they go to shop them today. So a lot of people go to Minneapolis, they go to Chicago, they go to Kansas City, and one of those most prevalent brands is IKEA. And so IKEA is on an expansion mode right now, so that would definitely be a target brand for us to build down in Gretna right on I-80 and Highway 31. But it's brands like that people have to go out of state that have not planted a flag here in Nebraska yet. And a project like this can be an attractive tool to create the critical mass that they want around them, but also attract them to come and build in our community.
And I just want to jump in and say, the almost 800,000 people that we have currently on our NEX app, we can actually see those transactions and where people purchase outside of the state. So we already know that people are shopping at Crate and Barrel or West Elm or IKEA, et cetera, that do not exist in the market currently. And so having that data obviously is empowering. We see already 5.5 million people every single year at Nebraska Crossing. 30% of them come from out of state. We obviously can track all of that through transactions at Nebraska Crossing. So we're looking to bring in new to market retail to really enliven, what we have from a retail perspective as well. And just make it even more of a destination that it already is.
Okay, so and we got to wrap up for time, but as we look at this LB 727, there's not a ton of time left in the legislative session. You guys, what do we do next? What's the rest of the, the process that you see from here on out?
Yeah, the bill will go through the negotiation process with the legislation, and I would think over the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll kind of see it all get buttoned up one way or another. And so I think we'll have a really good, clear vision of where we are in the next 3 weeks. But we're very, very bullish that we can, if we have the opportunity, we can deliver the platform. I'm 100% confident of that. And I think that the out-of-state retail that we're focused on and targeted in different industries is super, super excited to be part of what we're doing in Gretna.
Well, Rod Yates and Johanna Boston, we appreciate you joining us, and thank you for all your economic development leadership, and best wishes to you guys on this and the many other projects that you have going on.
Thanks, Jeff and Trenton. Always good to say hello.
Thanks for the time, guys.
All right, that was Rod Yates and Johanna Boston from Nebraska Crossing. Going to take our middle of the show break for the news, and then when we come back, Trent and I are going to be talking about Omaha homes are actually appreciating so much. It's actually a top 10 market for home appreciation. That and more. You're listening to Jeff and Trenton on Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beal sitting next to Trenton Maggot. We're brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. We love our friends over at Dingman's because they help you when you are in a position of really needing help. No one likes to get into an accident, but when you do, at least you know Dingman's will be on your side.
I have personal experience of the last 45 days with Dingman's. I got a new fancy car, and within 8 days, a nice young lady who wasn't paying attention decided to hit my new car. And
That was very mean of her.
It was flatbedded over to Dingman's, and they worked with me well and with my insurance company, and I'm back in the saddle, as they say, and you can't tell.
And you listen to this show, folks, to learn new verbs like flatbedded. You know, that's probably the first time a lot of people have ever heard the term flatbedded. It's only a matter of time before it's in the Merriam-Webster. But yeah, Trenton, I think your experience, firsthand experience, tells us a lot. You know, they just do such a good job, and they do it at a fair price, and they're very ethical people, and family-owned company, and that trickles down to all of the people that work there. Great service, great end product, and a lot of ethics and a fair price while it's going on. Dingman's Collision Center. How many metro area locations?
4 locations, including mechanical repairs. My car got a new subframe.
A new subframe?
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know what a subframe is, but I bet it's expensive.
Yes, for that other insurance company, yes. But they did the mechanical work first over on 120th and Maple, and they took it to 144th and Industrial Road, where they have specialists repaired my car.
I've had them do 3 of my vehicles. Well, 2 of my vehicles and someone else's vehicle that I had to fix. And all 3 of them, they did an outstanding job. Well, let's go into our commercial real estate development spotlight of the week, which is brought to you by Noddle Companies. Noddle Companies, under the able leadership of Jay Noddle and his outstanding team of leaders, developers, and project managers, do things all over the country. But what we really care about when it comes to Noddle Companies are the multiple projects they have here in the metro area. We're going to talk about a couple of them today. The first one is Steel Ridge, which is a very large part retail, part industrial project on both sides of Highway 370, east of Interstate 80 in Papillion. And if you drive by that area, let's say you're heading west, which at that point, Interstate 80 kind of goes south, and you're for a little bit, you're going to Lincoln, and you look off to the front left, you'll see a very large industrial building under construction. The exterior panels are starting to go in on that. That is Rotella's new bread storage facility.
They bought 50 acres.
Rotella's did.
Yeah.
That's a lot of acres for bread.
I'm under contract. A client of mine, we've got 3 lots, and the choice 3 lots, retail pads, between the soon-to-be-built Menards on the west, and then the Shine Shop car wash that H&H has. But if anybody's looking for to be in a retail strip center, maybe even with a drive-through, and my client may consider selling off an acre as well. So I'll take that call.
And that's on the north side of Steel Ridge.
Yeah, so Steel Ridge north, but you've got a bunch of car dealers behind you. There's other things planned, and it'll be right on the way into Menards, and that's very popular.
Well, and then the Menards store that Trenton's talking about, we're thinking that'll probably get started in earnest, maybe early next year, I think is the last we've heard.
I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, so a 2024 start. But, Menards is finishing up their Council Bluffs store. My guess is they probably would start on our Papillion Gretna store at that point in time. And that's your commercial real estate development spotlight, brought to you by Noddle Companies. If you want to learn more about Noddle Companies and the projects they have here in Omaha, like Exarban Village, River's Edge, Builders District, etc., or if you want to know about any of their other stuff in other metro areas and states, just go to noddlecompanies.com. They also have a good Facebook page, and we appreciate them for sponsoring the show. Well, if you feel like your home prices are going up in Omaha, you're probably right, because Omaha has been ranked number 8 on Realtor.com's Emerging Housing Markets Index for the first quarter. Okay, so basically Realtor.com did this in conjunction with the Wall Street Journal, and the study looked at the 300 largest metro areas in the United States, and they ranked them from 1 to 300 for home buyers who are seeking an appreciating housing market in a place with a good economy and a stable economy and a high quality of life.
It's pretty amazing if you think about it.
Yeah, so out of those 300, Omaha was number 8. And so that means that in a lot of markets where the appreciation level has tailed off or even maybe stopped altogether or reversed, and Omaha is definitely not the case. But what was interesting is that the very top spots were typically pretty small metro areas, substantially smaller than Omaha, like Lafayette, Indiana, which is where Purdue University is located, was number 1. Sioux City, which is mostly in Iowa, but the part of that Sioux City metro area is actually in the state of Nebraska. It was ranked number 7, right ahead of Omaha. And then a lot of people always want to know, what about the other? We always love to know about the other cities in our region that we pay attention to or maybe compete with or like to go hang out at or whatever. Minneapolis was number 98, Denver 114, fast-growing Sioux Falls, South Dakota was number 138, St. Louis number 145, Lincoln was 186.
Wow.
That surprised me because Lincoln continues to grow really well, and Nebraska obviously is well represented in the top 10. Chicago number 225, Kansas City 250, and fast-growing Des Moines, Iowa number 278.
Really?
I wonder if Des Moines has just added like so many houses or something like that.
Well, you go around Omaha, and not only are there a ton of housing developments going on, there's a lot of apartment construction going on in Omaha.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Both single-family construction and multifamily construction.
And
in this
hopefully
town.
that means some people are moving here. We love it when we get new citizens.
Hey, Trent, I want to spend 1 minute or a minute and a half on this, but a lot of people have heard that Bed Bath & Beyond is basically highly likely to go out of business altogether. Did Chapter 11. They've already started store closing sales in some markets. Bed Bath & Beyond has at least a couple stores in here. Omaha, they're Village Point and Xarban.
Yep, Xarban.
And then also included in this is Bye Bye Baby, which has an Omaha store at 120th and L.
Appropriate name for it now.
Goodbye, Bed Bath & Goodbye. So as Bed Bath &
I like that store.
I
always forget my 20% coupon.
I bought a lot of things there over the years. But, okay, so what does this mean for us? First of all, we're losing another retailer in America. And then secondly, what does it mean for the retail vacancy it creates?
First of all, there's not a ton of, we'll call these medium box retailers. They're probably 20 to 30,000 square foot retail shops, a little bit bigger maybe than a Walgreens or a CVS. And they're great locations, that 72nd and Pacific, the Bye Bye Baby at L Street Marketplace, and then Village Point. I think they'll be taken pretty quick. Just depends on whether it's traditional retail or something else.
Yeah, retail is pretty adaptable and resilient as a form of real estate. We will see. Well, we got to take our final break of the hour, and when we come back, it'll be the Turner Construction Lightning Round. I'm looking at the list, and there's a lot of things on it. Stick with us. You're listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. Back in a moment on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And it's time for the lightning round, brought to you by Turner Construction. Turner Construction is building the Omaha environment and doing a darn good job of it. A lot of employees here in the Omaha area,
Yes,
big
sir.
projects, little projects, and so we need to encourage them to keep sponsoring us and bringing us information, which is so important. And
Absolutely.
a lot of people, when they think of Turner, they think of the Sarpy County Data Center, which is about a mile now if you add up the 3 segments. And who knows, could even get a little bit bigger. But they do more than just big blockbuster projects. A lot of retail build-outs, medium buildings or whatever, and just an outstanding company to work for, too, if you're looking for a job in the trades. Turner Construction, sponsor of the Lightning Round. Whew, a lot of stuff. Let's go through it fast.
All right.
Muchachos is getting close to opening its Omaha store in Little Bohemia. That's the New Mexico-inspired barbecue out of Lincoln. We have Good News Legends Cafe in downtown Council Bluffs, which was going to close, decided to stay open because the owners got a couple of buyers to take it over.
Sure.
Paws Coffee Shop recently opened at 7515 Main Street in Ralston. O'Reilly Auto Parts is just finishing up construction on a new store at 59th and Sorensen Parkway.
They have thousands and thousands of stores.
And thousands of auto parts, I would guess. The 3 businesses have opened at Westroads Mall. One is called Fix Max. It does iPhone and tablet repair. Legendary Wolf Games, as in like video games and things like that, has moved to a 4,500 square foot space on level 3 near Von Mar. TikToker Trendway, which sounds like we're probably not in their target audience, Trenton. They've opened on the second level between Rue 21 and Lens Crafters. We told you in the past that Wine, Beer, and Spirits opened in downtown Omaha in the old Thunderhead Brewing space, 11th and Jones. Well, they have their signage up now.
Nice.
Looks really cool. 6,500 square foot space down in that area. The new downtown Omaha library at 1401 Jones Street. Grand opening has been announced. It'll be May 21st.
That looks really nice. You see those pictures?
Yeah, I can't wait to get in. That'll be the first time I've been excited to see a library in a long time.
True. Bring your card.
Kayo, that's a good point. I don't have a library card. I think they'll let me in. Kayo Sushi is taking over the former Beijing Tokyo space at 3503 Sampson Way in Bellevue. 2,700 square foot space opening in June. Over Easy, the breakfast place near 168th and Q in Mission Hills, will be permanently closing on June 4th. Wonton John's, which is a very popular food truck. Everyone loves food trucks, and there's some really good ones out there. Their first brick and mortar store is getting really close to opening Benson. The address is 2740 North 61st Street. Doozy's Homemade Ice Cream, and it's actually Doozy's Homemade Ice Cream and Burgers is replacing Jimmy's All-American Malt Shop and Grill at 4105 South 11th Street in Council Bluffs. That's
What?
right.
Okay.
That's right by Lake Manawa. This Jimmy's All-American place closed a couple of years ago under a little bit of controversy, you could say. Doozy's Homemade Ice Cream and Burgers is located very nearby, so it's kind of like a way for them to get a bigger, higher profile
Probably
space.
had something to do with the amount of milk fat in their malts.
I don't think so. But Trenton, Tommy's Express Car Wash, got a new one coming at 180th and Harrison.
Yes, we do. It'll. That's a good location, good traffic.
And then Tommy's Express Car Wash is also building a location at 124th and Dodge right in front of Costco. That one's coming along pretty nicely. And it's still just about ready to go vertical. I was over in that area. It looks like the foundation work is pretty close, and it's just about ready to go
Need
vertical.
more car washes.
And then something we should have mentioned in the commercial real estate development spotlight brought to you by Noddle Companies. The mass timber building that Noddle Companies is constructing in the Builders District at about, on Mike Fahey Street between 15th and 16th. That one is also getting very close to going vertical. I drove by earlier this week, and it looks like it's going to go up here pretty quick. The music's playing, which means we're done. But don't be sad, because we'll be back again. In the meantime, have a great week. You've been listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center, D&M Roofing and Siding, and Turner Construction. I'm Jeff Beals.
And I'm Trenton Maggot.
We'll chat with you next week at 9 o'clock right here on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.